Hello there! I hope you found this video because you have played Outer Wilds before, and didn't click on this video because you didn't know what it was. If you are the person who doesn't know what Outer Wilds is, well, if you like a space game setting where you're free to explore a solar system, then this could be a game for you. There is a mystery element to the game, because an ancient civilization had lived on this system before you, but they're all dead now. Using the latest and newest technology from Outer Wilds Ventures, the Nomai translator tool, and your very own spaceship, you are free to go out and explore where and how you want. This is all I can disclose about the game. Please, if this game sounds like something you'd play, don't look up anything more about it. I tell you what, here's my final rating. It's a 10 out of 10 certified masterpiece. Please, please, go play the game for yourself and discover what it has to offer before you watch this video or consume any other media about Outer Wilds. I am not joking, I am pleading, I am on my knees, on the ground, looking up at you with my hands together, asking you to not continue. Do not pass go. Do not press the play button. Go play the game and then come back. Please. Okay? Right. Okay, if you're still here and you're ignoring me, this is your own fault. Alright? Like, you can't blame me for this. This is all on you. Now that I've effectively killed the viewer retention of this video, as well as any momentum it could have possibly had in the algorithm, let's talk about what makes this game great. As you know, if you are people who did not ignore my warning and have played the game, this is a game that you can only experience once. It's best to have experienced it without any prior knowledge of the game, without any kind of walkthroughs or looking up how to do something. Looks into the camera. Let's start with the game's atmosphere. I absolutely adore the style and atmosphere of this game. It's from like the music to the visuals to the way that you can see all the planets moving in the distance from one planet to the next. It's just so beautiful. Like, if I could kiss it, I would. I love the rustic, cobbled together vibes of the Hearthians compared to the sci-fi, slick and smooth look of the Nomai. It really does help differentiate not only the technological difference between these two races and civilizations, but it also it just adds to the difference of, like, I know that ship because it looks Hearthian, I know that ship because it looks Nomai. And there's a lot of visual tells in this game that there's no like text box or hints or anything to tell you that this is a Nomai ship. I mean, I guess there is the translator tool, but even without the translator tool, you'd know that this is not a Hearthian ship if you're on it. I love that each planet has its own identity, and it's very easy to differentiate them from each other, and the way that the game handles points of interest. So, like, the planet's surface in general is kind of plain and boring. There's really not anything to look at or do. But the points of interest are big. They usually are like, hey, I'm interesting. Look at me, I'm a mountain. Or look at me, I'm a smoke signal. It's just something to pull your attention and be like, there's something here that's interesting. I'm gonna go there. And the game doesn't tell you that. It's so beautiful. Going back to the sound design and music, I love the way that the sound and the music work in this game. For instance, one of the ways that you can locate other travelers in the system is through the signal scope. And you'll hear them playing music, and they all have their own instrument, their own way of creating the sound, so they're already unique, and you haven't even seen them yet. They're on a different planet the first time, hopefully the first time you pull out your signal scope, they're on a different planet. So, like, it's just, oh, it's so freaking beautiful, dude. I can't, If you fly away from the solar system, you can overlap each of these parts and they'll combine into a song. And that's beautiful from both a gameplay and sound design perspective. As I was looking for an example for all the instruments overlapping, looks into the camera, I stumbled across a video by Idk the Onion, who flew out into deep space and they had their signal scope out during the supernova event. And there was an audible and sequential loss of each instrument as the supernova had expanded and ate up the solar system. And that just killed me inside. I really like the way that the music plays based on where you are or what you're doing. For example, when you blast off into space, you get the universe flying music. While if you're in the Southern Observatory, you get the music inside that facility, or if you're inside the Ash Twin, you get the music for the Ash Twin. The final sequence, when you take the warp core, I think is really unique because when you're going into the Ramble, it kind of muddles and mutes, which makes sense because you're trying to be quiet, but you're trying to be quick, and the music, if it was just blasting this finalized piece of this ending sequence that you've been hearing over and over and over, it would take so much away from that, and it would probably make you go a little faster. So I really like that they muddled it in the Bramble for you. And if you can't tell, I've had one person that I could share this experience with and talk to, and I've spent days asking random people that I know, hey, have you played Outer Wilds? Hey, have you played Outer Wilds? And they're like, no, I haven't played it. Oh, what's Outer Wilds? Oh, no, I've heard about it, I just haven't played it. Dude, it's driving me nuts that I have had no one to talk to and geek out over this game with. So I'm sorry if this is very unprofessional and everything it just sounds awful, but I'm very excited and I can't stay on the script. Just to let you know. Okay, alright, let's go back to the script now. There was a time I was on Brittle Hollow and I fell into the black hole. I used the white hole station to teleport back and my ship was gone. Since I thought I was stuck there, and it was really the end of the loop, I looked at the sun, it was pretty red, kind of big, I was like, you know what, I got some time. So I decided to stick at the North Pole and just think. There was no music in the background, and all I had was the ambient noise and the sounds that I was making by walking around and using my jetpack. If this was any other game, I would have taken points away. I would have said this is an awful experience, this detracts from the game. But that's not the case with this game. It's almost like the developers wanted that to happen, but with how open-ended and how much player agency and freedom this game offers to the player, maybe they didn't intend it for it to happen. Maybe it was just a side effect of like, oh, you know, whoops, right? But like if any other player was in my shoes, which I haven't seen any other VODs yet. But if any other player was in my shoes, they might have done something differently. Like, they might have learned that you can use the jetpack to traverse the entirety of Brittle Hollow. You can go from one end, probably all the way around the planet, and be back in the North Pole and still have fuel to spare. Another could have found the secret entrance to the Black Hole Forge, following the river, right? But for me, I thought it was just a waiting game, and there really wasn't much I could do in my mind at the time. Which brings me to my next point. Outer Wilds lets you do what you want. It doesn't block you from certain areas with invisible walls, or areas you can't access yet. Everything in the game can be entered in an intended or unintended way. For instance, on Giant's Deep, there's an achievement for getting past the current by forcing your way through. Either by flying very far out and smashing into the planet, or using the islands to force yourself down. Yes, it is an intended way, because there is an achievement attached to it. But when I say intended, I mean most likely for players to use. This game feels like a sandbox, but honestly it's story-driven. One doesn't detract from the other. In fact, they actually work together to enhance and create this unique experience. The way that the story is sprinkled across the solar system, the way that the player unravels that story and has it presented to them is radically different, since it's based on what the player found and how they interpret that information. For instance, in my playthrough, I went to the Comet and unraveled its secrets. Due to exhaustion from my massive play session, which was like 8 hours at the time, and just a lack of comprehension skills, I interpreted the Comet as the catalyst for the supernova, since it runs into the star, and I misinterpreted the unstable matter in there as, oh, this makes the sun go supernova very quickly. This is what I need to stop. This is how I save the solar system. I spent the good portion of the next loop trying to figure out how to change the orbit of the comet so that it wouldn't run into the sun and cause the supernova. In my mind, I thought I was going to save the universe with that move. This game is not Kerbal Space Program, and I cannot change the orbits. But since I misinterpreted that information, it made me do something that nobody else probably would have been insane enough to try. Since in the game, there's really nothing to support the idea of changing orbits and your engine's powerful enough to even do it. This could also happen at any point in the game where information is given to the player. It could be misinterpreted, it could be, they could interpret it correctly, but with the other missing pieces, they could create a different theory on what exactly it is. And it's so good. I have to thank my friend Ronit for this idea, the only other person I can talk to about this game. Well, he came up with the idea of this game having its own medium, since if you read a book, that's a type of medium, or if you watch a show, that's a type of medium. The way that this game's medium works is that it's very much down to the player. The world is set, it's up to the player to discover and interpret it. And since everyone has different experiences, they have different ways of interpreting things, no two runs are going to be the same, and that is crucial to this game's success. The way that I was introduced to this game was about 3 years ago. I can't remember exactly who recommended it, but I was going through my games library, and I was like, I don't know what game I want to play. I kind of want to play some single-player games, and they were like, well, have you tried Outer Wilds? And if I was to play that game back then, I probably wouldn't have given it such a glowing review, because the way that I would have played the game back then is I probably would have gotten bored of all the reading, and I wouldn't have invested myself into the story or into the universe that they've created. I wouldn't have appreciated the atmosphere and the music as much as I do now, and I honestly probably would have said the game sucks. However, I played the game this year, and one of my friends wanted to watch it, so I let him watch, and we got together in a Discord channel. I streamed it for him, and he didn't talk. He just watched. So, for the sake of his sanity, as well as my own sanity, I read out all of the dialogue, or all of the text. I vocalized all of my internal thoughts out so that he knew what I was thinking about and what I was planning on doing and the theories I created. And this drastically changed how I personally experienced this game. This concept is what makes the first playthrough so unbelievably special, that I recommend this game to anyone who can play games. I'm like, hey, you should play Outer Wilds, man. Like, I come up to them like a crack addict. I'm like, hey, man, you should try this crack. When I recommend them to play this game, I always ask them to create a VOD or create a recording, or if I could be there, so I could essentially experience what it's like to experience this game for the first time through the other person. I don't know of any other games that's like that, man. Like, I can't think of another game. But by having them, say they do the recording, having them do the recording again allows them to go back once they're done, and they can kind of like relive their first experience with the game, as well as like kind of see when they weren't piecing things together, when they knew something but they were way ahead of the game and they just couldn't piece it together yet. And it's just so crazy going back and seeing my own mistakes and my own theories and my own VOD. It's like, dude, I was on the money with that theory and I had no clue. It's very similar to a baby's first step or a baby's first word kind of video, because they only happen once. I can't explain how special and important this is, that the game like this exists, that this experience can be shared amongst strangers and friends alike. It's what makes this game so special. Let's keep talking about the technical stuff, because I'm getting too soft. The game runs on a 22-minute cycle. It presents this cycle by killing the player the first time, hopefully. Other players may not have made it to the end of the first cycle. Is that the sun? This is a great mystery that pushes the player to explore the system more rapidly and try and figure out, why is the sun exploding? As the players continue to go through the cycle, there's all kinds of hints and timers that will kind of indicate where they are in that cycle's process. One of the indicators is the star itself. As time progresses, the star gets bigger, it becomes more red, and it'll eventually eat the sun station and the interloper, and that gives you an idea of how far you're in the loop. The twins are the most on the nose when it comes to timekeeping, since they are called the Hourglass Twins, and most of the time, if you're exploring Ember Twin, you'll be pushed to the surface by the sand, and you will see the star getting bigger. And when the sand's fully moved over, you're pretty much done. Brittle Hollow being, well, the majority of its planet getting sucked into the black hole, that's a pretty good indicator. One of the things that I used, which I don't know if anyone else used, was the orbits for Giant's Deep and the Dark Bramble as a time indicator. When the Dark Bramble's orbit was approaching Giant's Deep, I knew I had around 3 to 4 minutes left, because when the Dark Bramble passed behind Giant's Deep, that's the supernova event. It occurred, it's happening, we're probably done. And lastly, for the people who are really paying attention, you can also look at the amount of stars left in the universe. Because over time, the background stars will supernova and gradually disappear from the sky. Which I'm sure someone probably noticed at some, like in their first or second playthrough, they're like, where'd all the stars go? Or not playthrough, but loops. I think that is one of the coolest little details they have added into the game. And it will be missed. Completely missed by some players. Like, yes, Chert does talk about it, and he has a unique dialogue when he kind of pieces everything together, pieces it all together, realizes the universe is ending, and shuts down. But, again, that's just stuff that players might miss, because you have to be at the right time, at the right place, with the right dialogue and the right knowledge. Another small detail that I geeked out about is when the background stars are disappearing, some will supernova, while others, like the dimmer stars, will just blip without a bang. And I absolutely adore this detail, because the star isn't big enough to supernova, and they didn't have to implement that. They could have made every single star supernova, and it's just so beautiful. If you fly away from the solar system, the star that you came from will gradually shift from yellow to red, and then eventually blue, and it will blip and then supernova, even though you're so far away from it. You could be like 70 kilometers away. Or sorry, 70,000 kilometers. You could be 70,000 kilometers away and you'll still see that red shift. On the topic of small details, when an object passes between you and the star, they create a white outline around the object. Now, I don't know if this is because the planet has an atmosphere and you're seeing the atmosphere, or if all planets create that like white ring around them. But I specifically noticed it with the Quantum Moon as well as with Giant's Deep, both of which have an atmosphere. It's just another one of those small details that I geeked out over when I found it. I absolutely loved how Giant's Deep's storms are visible on the dark side as well. There are a few games out there where I felt upset that the game was over. One of those games being A Hat in Time, and the other one being Outer Wilds. Towards the end of the game, when I almost had everything figured out and I knew what needed to be done, I felt conflicted. There was no way to prevent the star from exploding. There's nothing the Quantum could do, there's nothing the Herthians could do, there's nothing I could do. It was inevitable. I felt angry, sad, empty. I started doing some achievements to sate my appetite for more, messed around with a few of the other travelers, and revisited some of the random NPCs that don't play a crucial role in the story, because I felt sad that, well, they're all gonna die and be left behind. Never have I ever cared about NPCs in a video game. Never. The crazy thing about this game is that it doesn't even try to make me care about these NPCs. No tragic backstories, no forced cutscenes or interactions, no playing guitar with this person. It's all natural. And it's all because I wanted to talk to them. I wanted to warn the NPCs about the supernova, but realistically, the only one who would understand would be Gabriel, but he doesn't care. That guy could care less if he's died. He's died how many times we've reset with these loops. But I wanted to try and bring him along anyway, because, you know, like, I wanted to see if that's something you could do. You know, maybe we could go to the Ramble and get to the Eye and possibly survive. Who knows, right? But there's a level of despair and loneliness that I felt, to where even if I was to survive, I'd be alone. It's similar to a Doctor Who episode, where all of the stars are dead. I mean, that's the heat death of the universe. It's the end of time, basically. And there's a ship of people just floating around in space. Now, I don't know if I'm remembering this correctly. I was 12 when I watched this. Please give me a break. But this game and its ending made me feel the same way as I did when I watched and thought about that Doctor Who episode. And it's the only game that has ever made me think about what I wanted to do with the last 22 minutes of my life. Of all of the options I could do with my final life, the Eye of the Universe seemed like the only one that made the most sense. So, once I had done everything I wanted to do, I reset the loop. Went to the Ash Twin project, ripped out the warp core from the center, and booked it to the Dark Bramble. Knowing I only had so much time, I had to be careful not to alert the anglerfish, but be swift enough to make it to the vessel in time. After a close call with an anglerfish, I made it to the vessel, punched in the warp drive, and hastily entered the coordinates for the Eye of the Universe. I warped there just to find what I thought was certain death. But what was I to do? Die at the end of the universe, or die at the Eye of the Universe? The only thing left to do is to push forward into the unknown. As I traveled through the eye, I saw things familiar to what I would call home. Some things have been altered, and it's all the things that I've learned while I was exploring the solar system. And it's really quiet. I see the universe end, and I'm greeted by a scattering of lights. Flying closer in reveals that it's a forest. Along with the forest, I'm greeted by crickets. These lights are galaxies, and they're all fading away, taking their light with them until it's dark. Quantum rocks appear and disappear until I receive a signal. It's myself. My light flickers and reveals a dead tree. It's a grave. It turns into a campfire. The campfire reveals the forest. Then a chair. Then Esker. In the forest are instruments playing music, but no one's there. Collecting these instruments spawns their respective player at the campfire. Once everyone is assembled, they start to play their instruments, one by one. The music stops. Everyone says their goodbyes after the last time they get to play as a group. Entering the ball collapses the endless possibilities and forces the creation of a new universe. So there's a lot to unpack here. Watching it all again and describing it to you made me contextualize a lot of things that went over my head the first time. The biggest and hardest hitting thing for me is the ending. No matter what I do, I will die. The eye of the universe is trying to tell me that I'm dead by showing me myself, then my grave. But it's also attempting to comfort me by showing me all of the characters that I had met. getting them all back together to play around the campfire. Even Schrodinger's Nomai from the Quantum Moon is here, together playing one last time. As I gather everyone, I see all of the things that they learned and all of their accomplishments, like Rhinebeck's adventure to the Hanging City's ruins. He's scared of spaceflight and probably of all the moon rocks trying to kill him. The ground's falling, and there's a black hole at the center of the planet. This guy had it rough. I see Gabbro's hammock and poem, Kurt's observation of the universe, Fieldspar's anglerfish and jellyfish adventures, and Solanum's trip to the quantum moon. All of these achievements, all of these characters brought back together one last time to share a song, to say their goodbyes. The ending in a broader sense is cliché and confusing, but for those who have lost someone, it's really beautiful. It's a very positive way to look at death, and how futile it can feel to try and stop it. The characters aren't sad, they aren't angry, they aren't mad that they're dying or they're dead. They're happy that they could share one last moment with each other, that they lived lives that they're proud of. At first I didn't understand what was going on, and I was making jokes. I was trying to understand it. But upon this recap, it made me break down and cry. Which I'm not proud to admit. No other game has ever made me do that. No other game has made me appreciate getting stranded and thinking alone. No other game has made me care about NPCs. No other game has given me the freedom to choose and explore what I want, when I want, and how I want. This statement, no other game, is what makes Outer Wilds a masterpiece. So that's the end of the video. However, there's some things that I didn't get to touch on because I felt it would have disrupted the flow of the video too much. As, you know, the flow of the video was completely disrupted by my uncontainable excitement of talking about the game. So I'll just spill the beans. Originally, the whole point of that script was to first push away any player who has not played Outer Wilds, or potential player, into getting them to play the game and then come back to the video, or, you know, go watch their favorite content creator play it or whatever. And then it was meant to establish the world, geek out over all of the small details and like the way that the atmosphere and the music play their roles, and how discovery and player agency has huge roles. And while I was going into the player agency aspect of it, I got a little, like, emotional. So I was thinking, well, let's pull back the emotional aspect of it, and we'll keep going into the technical things, just like I did with the War Thunder video. Well, you know, I brought up, like, this is how this plane plays, or these are the tactics that you can use. You can't do that with this game. I mean, yeah, we can talk about, like, the design aspects and like, if I knew how to code, we could talk about, like, the coding aspects of it, of like how, you know, when you turn away and turn back, how did the quantum stuff work and all that jazz. But I'm not qualified to talk about that. So I pretty much had to just fall back on how I personally experienced this game, and that's where the idea of the overarching idea of the script, of kind of playing with the idea of emotions and how that affects the player, or I guess me, when interpreting these kind of like pretty heavy topics, which they're not like Like, the game doesn't explicitly, it's not in your face about, like, the end of the universe and everyone's dead. It just glosses over it, and it leaves it to the player to really have that sink in, that all of these guys that you've met, like, sure, you didn't really interact with them a lot, they're fucking dead, and there's nothing you can do about it, and that you're dead, and there's nothing you could do about it, and that your attempt at saving yourself is even futile, because it's just gonna happen. And that's I mean, like, if you played the game, you know how the ending is, but, like, maybe it didn't sit the same way. It didn't sit the same way with you as it did with me. So that's why the script kind of pushed the idea of, like, it's I don't know, man. Anyways, welcome to the post video credits section where I talk about things that don't fit in the freaking video. But while I was playing the game, I had the review score sitting at a low 7 to about a 9. And I think I landed at the end of the VOD. I'm going to upload the VOD in the description as an unlisted video. Or I think it's not going to be one video. It's going to be like 5. Because the hour limit on YouTube is 12. And it took me like 26 hours to play the game. So you'll get like 3-ish videos. But they'll be in the description with a link, probably in a playlist. And they will be unlisted. I'm never not unlisting them unless I create a VOD channel. But as I was playing the game and I wrapped it up, I think I ended the play session with like an 8.3, somewhere between like a 7 and a 9, with 8.3 being that sweet spot. But as I was reviewing the game, going back, watching my footage, really kind of diving into the aspects of how the story all fit together, how the player figured all that out, watching myself figure all that out, the review score jumped to a 9. And it sat at that solid 9 for days. Until I reviewed the ending, and they pushed a patch out. This game came out in 2019, and they pushed a patch out in 2025 addressing the specific bugs that I encountered in my playthrough with the lock-on glitch when you alt-tab, or I don't even remember the other bug, but there was another bug I encountered. Oh, I forgot. Whatever. So the other gripe that I had with the game that was keeping it from getting that 10 was I didn't like the Dark Bramble. Like, as a concept, I think it's fine, because it also it introduces the idea of there's like 3 things at work. There's your understanding of physics and the world, and then there's quantum, which does what it wants but has to be observed, and then there's Bramble, which does what it wants, and it's completely unknown. It just works as a teleporter in like a pocket dimension somehow, and we never figure out how, and I think that's fine. But my biggest gripe with the Dark Bramble was the fact that the anglerfish existed. I really didn't see the point of the anglerfish at the time. I thought they were just more of an annoyance. It's like, this is just here to annoy me. And as I was thinking about, you know, how could I change the Bramble? Because if that's the thing that's holding it back from a 10, how would I make it better? And at the end of the VOD, me and Ronit were talking about trying to figure out, you know, like, what if we turned it into a maze, or, you know, we made it so that it's just hard to navigate, but you can still navigate it using the probe, or blah blah blah, XYZ. And when I was going over the ending, it really detracted from Fieldspar's achievements, as well as your own achievement of grabbing the core, getting through the Bramble without dying, getting to the vessel, going to the Eye of the Universe. That's an achievement that's hard, and it's hard because of the anglerfish. and it makes it more rewarding. So I couldn't change it. And when I realized that all of the ideas that I thought would be good changes for the game are actually bad ones, that review score went from a 9 to a 10. And it's a perfect game. Because I can't recommend changing anything about it. I don't know, maybe we could reduce the reading, which, you know, like, I don't know, have the translator have a text-to-speech tool or something. But, like, I can get over reading. So, yeah, that pushed it up to a 10. A good old 10 out of 10. Anyways, this video took so long because I had a lot to go through. I had to play the game, I had to review the VOD, and then I just had to sit here and think for days about this game and all of its little nuances and how all of that's adding to the experience, and how much of a factor the environment and the atmosphere felt. And it's a far cry from the War Thunder video, because with the War Thunder video, anytime I ran out of like personal topics or like things that I experienced, I could just fall back on like, this is a cool jet, this is a cool tank. I hate ATGMs, just like, or like, this is what this plane was supposed to do in its desired role. There's things that I can talk about that's based on information, and I can't do that with this game because it's such a personal experience. So that took a long time, because if you can't tell, I don't like talking about I don't like talking about my emotions. I'm a big, strong man. But this video wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for the recommendations from God knows who it was who recommended it to me 3 years ago. And if it wasn't for Ronit pushing the idea of me streaming it to him, and me going all in with the whole, like, I'll just pretend it's a Twitch stream, and reading everything out loud, the video wouldn't be possible if I wasn't able to have my current living arrangements. Because, you know, I can't play a game if I'm just trying to live. So, my deepest thanks go to Adam and Lynette for letting me stay with them and letting me be able to be comfortable enough to make this content for, well, whoever wants to enjoy it. There's no one in particular that I'm making this for. It's just for fun. And an extra generous thanks to, well, you, for being able to for being tolerant of my rambling of this game that I love so much, and that you're here at the end of the video, because, you know, if I'm watching a video, I'm not gonna sit to the end on this guy just rambling about this game, right? So I thank you for being here. Alright, I'm done being emotional. Go appreciate life. We're done. We're done here. This is it. This is the end. Hey, we're not done. We're not done yet. So, I haven't crammed the music section into this video, and it's already so long. It's 40 minutes, so we're going to do it very quickly. It is 3:39 in the morning. I can't scream because there are people sleeping above me. So, I'm just going to be right next to this microphone, and I hope you can enjoy it. But, go down into the description and click on the Outer Wilds original soundtrack number 13, The Ash Twin Project, and with all of your knowledge that you've gathered, listen to that track without having the game in the background, and listen to the stark contrast of the piano that sits underneath the bass, or the bass line, or the drums, or the percussion, whatever you want to call it. I'm not a musician, but there's two aspects in this piece that Andrew Frello sorry if I butchered that, has created in this with the if you get there, because normally like the last player who gets there, or that's the last thing the player will get to, is the Ash Twin project. That should generally be like the last thing that people do. When you get there, you should have all the context of like the Nomai and all of the things that they were working towards, and that the project failed and everything. And it's the percussion and the drums add this awe factor of like, this is a super project. This is like a class 3 civilization super project, Dyson sphere level stuff. And as you're learning about this, and you're getting all the final bits of information about how the Nomai died, and how they failed to start this project, the piano that's underneath everything, the undertone piano, is not only it's kind of like dissonant with itself too, because like I'm again not a musician, but it sounds like the chords that the piano is playing don't even harmonize with each other, let alone the percussion that's on top of it. So beautiful piece. I love when games combine the music with the story and the theme and just the feel and the vibes of the game. It adds so much when they do little things like that I didn't even notice it, and I was in the Ash Twin project for like 20 minutes at one point, and I didn't hear the piano. I didn't piece it together. Why is this game so good?